So I've been streaming a legacy challenge on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/shortymcfly if you are interested. One thing that I've reiterated on that channel time and time again is that I am not a builder. Usually my houses end up looking like boxes with smaller boxes inside, which is not interesting. They don't look fantastic on the outside. They're not horrible houses, but they're not pretty houses either. But when you're doing a legacy challenge, you find that you have to update and build up your house constantly. So I would like to be better at that. So what I've been doing off stream is practicing building different types of houses. And I've been wanting to take on building challenges here and there. So the other day on Twitch, I streamed a build challenge where I challenged myself to build an entire house only using one pack. When I looked for examples of other people doing this type of challenge, a lot of the examples that came up were like one pack for one room of a house. But for some reason, I decided to make things harder for myself, and I only used one pack for the entire house. So essentially what I did was I went to a website, which I will link below if you are interested, and generated a random pack, which ended up being Dream Home Decorator, which I said while I was building the house on stream that I think I lucked out because there was a lot of good stuff in that pack. Then the rules that I set for myself were pretty simple and straightforward. I was building a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. I could only use the Dream Home Decorator pack, and anything that was missing from that pack, like toilets or anything like that, I could pull from the base game. Basically anything that I needed to make a functional house would either have to come from the pack or from the base game. I wasn't too strict with that as far as pulling things from the base game because it may not have been something essential that I needed to make a functioning house, but it was essential to me. Ultimately, I did like how the house turned out. It's not a super extravagant house or anything, but it was different for me, and I did enjoy it. It was a little troublesome, but it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be, and I will show you that now. So I had absolutely no plan going into this build. No idea how I wanted it to look, how I wanted the outside to look, how I wanted the floor plan to look. I just knew that I didn't want it to be boxes like I usually do. So I struggled for like the first couple minutes trying to figure out how I wanted the inside of the house to look. I actually ended up having to resize one of the rooms while I was building, or while I was furnishing really. I had to make more space because one of the rooms ended up being a little too small. I think once I put that slanted wall for the doorway into the kitchen, that's when it kind of clicked into place for me. Like that was the moment where I was like, okay, something different is happening here and I can make this work. So here I'm adding the doors. I think that may have been the only door that came with the pack, and it was really hard to match the wood perfectly with all the doors and all the windows. Windows are another difficult thing for me, usually when I build houses, because it's hard to make them look nice on the inside and the outside, which you'll see at the end of this. It didn't turn out perfect. Ended up just using the same window all the way around the house, just because I figured that would be easier to make it look a little more uniform. Before I got to the kitchen, I skipped the roof because I just could not get it to look like anything. I wanted it to hang a little bit over that front porch, but I couldn't do it without it looking stupid. So one thing that I've learned in my builder journey is that it's okay to come back to stuff. Sometimes it just doesn't work, but if you go work on something else and then come back to it, sometimes it just clicks the second time. Kitchen was tiny. I had a hard time figuring out my layout in the kitchen. There was only one table I could work with, so I had to make sure I had enough room for that. Cabinets are also something that I tend to struggle with, especially when there are windows in the way. But I think this came out pretty nice. The only thing that I don't really like about the kitchen is how dark it looks, which I think is just the lot issues. Because I do have 3 lights in the kitchen, and at this point they're all on. And maybe it's also because I covered the windows, but it just was not that bright in that kitchen. But I'm not blaming myself for that. I refuse to take responsibility for bad lighting in this game because it happens too often. Here, I'm just trying to get things to match at this point. Something that I cannot stand when building is trying to get the wood to match. There's so much unmatching wood in this game. It drives me crazy. But then I get to a certain point and usually I'm just like, oh well, I guess we're just not matching today. But I really wanted to try this time. So I pretty much just turned everything white. All the indoor doors are white. And all the outside stuff, the doors, the windows are all dark brown. This curtain that I'm putting in the living room, it's a really nice curtain, but it doesn't fit every window in the house. And I think that's actually like the shortest version of that curtain, which just, it doesn't work for every single window because not every window is long. And sometimes you put stuff under your windows and the curtains are just too long. So some windows I left without curtains, some windows I used base game curtains because I just could not make that long curtain work. I sped by it a little bit, but I also added a coat rack by the door. I don't know why I insisted on putting a coat rack by the door, but I needed something. I originally tried to put that tall plant over there, but it wasn't working. It was a little too big. So I was like, I need something here. I need a coat rack or something. So I went and found a coat rack and I put the coat rack. It's not an essential item for a functioning house, and it's not part of the pack, but it's in there. And there was when I resized the bedroom, because if I had left it the size that it was, there's no way a sim was getting in that bed. There just wasn't enough room, so I had to resize the room a little bit. And here I'm just adding some artwork, which I don't know if you could tell from here, but there's only like 2 actual paintings from this pack. And the thing about them is they all have a bunch of different swatches, so you can make them look like different paintings, but ultimately there's only 2 of them. Same with the rugs. I think there's only 3 rugs, but there's enough swatches that you can switch it up and make it look like a different, not necessarily a different rug, but you can make it fit because there's enough swatches that you can just make it work, which is why I really like this pack. I think I actually use stuff from this pack in like every build that I've done since I've had it, because there's so much in there. This office is almost entirely stuff from the pack, which I think is cool. But yeah, that is pretty much the house. At this point, I'm just fine-tuning and adding little decoration just to fill in the space and not make it look so bland. And then from here, I start working on the outside. This is something different for me. I don't usually do my roof like this. I usually just do like one big roof. Usually my house is just one big square, so one big roof usually fits. But I wanted to get fancy, so I did a little chimney thing on the side. I did 3 different roofs, one of them facing the other way. And it may not be perfect, but like I'm satisfied with how it turned out, because before I couldn't figure out what to do with it at all. It just looked stupid at first. But I made it work. And again, here's that issue of trying to get the woods to match. I'm playing around with columns and fences, and the woods just don't match. But because the lighting was so weird on the lot, I just kind of let it go. I picked the darkest wood I could and just called it a day. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of proud of how it turned out. It's not like a huge mansion with a pool or anything fancy that other people do, but for me to not be the best builder, I think this came out pretty nice by my standards, at least. Could be better, obviously, but I think it's cute. And then here we do a little landscaping, keeping it simple because it is such a small, simple house. This is something else I picked up from other YouTubers and other simmers. They do this like terrain paint underneath the landscaping to kind of give it a little dimension. I popped a little terrain paint under my shrubs, put a little trim on the roof, and bada bing, bada boom, it's done. So here's a quick tour of the house, the finished house. You see there's a little landscaping out here. Very minimal, kept it basic because landscaping is one of the things that's not included in Dream Home Decorator. So I didn't want to overdo it with all the base game stuff. This little chimney situation here is something that I took straight out of the Little Sims You playbook. I've seen her do this a couple of times because I hate the chimneys that come with the base game. And I hate that they don't always match the houses and like the painting and the siding and everything. So I figured it would be a little bit easier to just build my own. And I like how it turned out. I did leave this backyard situation open a bit. That can be worked on later. I also kind of hate how this window is off to the side on this edge right here, but given the shape of the room that it's in, I didn't really have a choice. Just looking at this, there may be a few things that I might go back and change or update later. Like I might extend this porch a little bit, just because the way the roof overhangs here, I think I could stand to put a column here and just have a little extra space. But overall, not a big deal. So when we come into the house here, we have a Sim watching TV. As you can see, she is pretty bored. We have this little llama on a table. I think just about everything in this room, except for the paint and the flooring, of course, came from the Dream Home Decorator pack. Oh, and the TV, obviously. But a TV stand came with the pack, so I figured, why wouldn't I get a TV to put on the TV stand, you know? Here is my coat rack that I insisted on putting in this house. Don't ask me why. I just really wanted it. It's hard to get good angles in here because this is a pretty small house. But, you know, in real life, this is a decent size for a house for one person. Here's a little entryway. I think these are the same rugs. Just an example of how limited I was. And then I believe the rug in the kitchen is the same as the rug in the office. Here's just a little overview of the floor plan here. So you got your living room, your entryway, your kitchen and dining. Bathroom is in the back. Bedroom off to the right. And then the office here can be changed to a second bedroom, maybe for a kid. But for now, it's an office. I stuck a radio in here at the last minute because this particular sim is a dance machine. And she was dumb bored when I put her in the house, so I had to give her something to do. And as you can see, she's still pretty bored because she's also energetic, but that's not our problem right now. So we'll continue into the kitchen here. It's small, but I made the space work. There was only, I believe this was the only dining table that came with this pack, so I had to make it work in this tiny kitchen. I wanted some artwork in here, but the lights that I used in the kitchen are big and awkward, so there really wasn't much space for art in here. So I just threw up some plants, because who doesn't love plants? I kind of like how it all came together. Turn on the lights so we can see a little better. Didn't help much. Also, there are no, like, traditional stoves in this pack. You only have the cooktop here and a separate oven, and you can't put the cooktop on top of the oven for some reason, so I had to separate them. That was a little frustrating, but at least we have counter space. One counter for a sim to cook on. There were no fridges, so this is a base game fridge. I think this might be a base game microwave, which we don't necessarily need a microwave, so this is an example of how I kind of cheated a little bit. Base game garbage can. I think these are base game curtains as well, but like, it's a kitchen. I wanted curtains. It's essential to me. Here is our tiny bathroom that we're probably not going to be able to see with the walls up. This sink and mirror came with the pack. Toilet, base game toilet paper. Again, not necessary for a Sims bathroom, but in real life, you need to wipe your butt. Here, I was able to put up a little bit of artwork. I used a hanging light instead of these wall lamps. I used the plant here, and this is a base game towel. Another kind of non-essential thing, but essential in real life, so I threw that in there. This tub actually came with the pack, which I loved. I kind of wish they also had a shower, but you make do with what you got. Also, we really didn't have much room to add a separate shower, so it is what it is. Then we come over here and we have the bedroom. This is what I mean by this window. I had no choice but to put it on the edge here because this wall is only 2 tiles. I couldn't move it over without cutting into the bathroom. But it is what it is. It looks nice on the inside. A dresser and the little clutter here all came with the Dream Home Decorator pack. These curtains did not. I think this counts as me cheating too, because Dream Home Decorator did have curtains, but I hated the way that they looked in here. I wanted shorter curtains, and Dream Home Decorator only has super long curtains, like the ones in the living room. And given the size of this room and how the dresser is right here, putting long curtains just wouldn't work. So, base game curtains. I actually put like 3 of these little ones in a row. That's why it kind of clips and looks a little weird right here, because there's actually 3 overlapping. I think this is a base game mirror. This is also a base game mirror that I used because all of the mirrors from the pack, which I think there's only like 2, they're short mirrors. They're better for bathrooms, in my opinion. So I just put a little long mirror in there, and then some shoes for decor, little bedroom clutter, little artwork, and then again the floors and the paint are all base game. I think there was only 1 wallpaper from the pack, which we'll get to in a second, but there were no floors at all from the pack. So I pretty much just picked 1 floor and stuck with it for the whole house, except for in the bathroom where I put tile to match the wall that I picked. Little rug, little bed, little table, little light, all came with the pack. These doors also came with the pack, and they come in some nice swatches. It was just difficult because I was trying to match the wood on these doors to the wood on this doorway into the kitchen, but it was kind of hard to do. So I ended up just going with a white, which in the end I think looks okay with all the gray and blue in here. It brightens it up a little bit, I think. This room here I think is my favorite because it uses the most from the pack. Everything in this room, with the exception of the floors and obviously the window here, comes from the pack. We have a cork board up here that comes with the pack, which you can tell because it has all this like interior designer type stuff. Stack of magazines. This laptop actually comes with the pack as well. I think you get it once you reach a certain point in the designer career track. I just threw it in there when I built the house, just to have something on the desk and chair, lamp, this bookcase, this little sculpture, the rug, and of course this wallpaper are all from the pack. I think it came together nicely. It is pretty tiny, but I think it looks nice. If anything, I do wish that there were more plants in this pack, but there is like a plant kit that I don't have yet. So if I need plants, I know where to get them. But as far as this build goes, I wish there were more plant options because this looks like it will make somebody sneeze. And then I used this one twice and almost used it a third time, to be honest. For stuff like the art, I think it helped that there were multiple swatches that made it a different art piece every time. So like this painting is technically the same as the one that's in the bathroom, but because it's a different swatch, it looks like a completely different painting, and I do appreciate that. But yeah, I think I really lucked out with this pack because I was able to, for the most part, fill up this house with just that pack. So that is the house. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I enjoyed building it. Like I said, it ended up not being as difficult as I expected it to be. I would like to try this challenge again using a different pack that's maybe a little more lacking because like I said, this pack did have a good amount of stuff in it. I would like to try something that doesn't have that convenience, maybe make it a little more challenging. If you have any recommendations for other build challenges I can try, go ahead and leave a comment below. Sims 4 has been out for 8 years now. So I'm always looking for new ways to play the game. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and leave a like or subscribe to the channel. I do plan on posting more Sims 4 content. You can also follow me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/ShortyMcFly. I do stream a lot of Sims over there. I also have a second channel where I upload my VODs for my streams, so if you miss anything, you can catch it there. All that information should be below in the description. I have uploaded this house to the gallery if you're interested. My name on there is AshliReneeHey. You can also see the other 2 houses that I have up there right now. Either way, thanks so much for popping in, and I'll catch you guys next time.